What if your reality is not as objective as you think it is? What if the life you experience every day is partially generated through subconscious patterns running beneath awareness, like hidden code inside a psychological operating system? Ancient Hermetic philosophers believed this was exactly the case. In the Kybalion, one of the foundational texts of Hermetic philosophy, the first principle states, "The all is mind." Reality itself is mental in nature, and according to the Hermetic tradition, the external world people experience is deeply connected to the internal architecture of consciousness itself. Today, modern neuroscience, cognitive restructuring, and neuroplasticity are beginning to reveal something strangely similar. The mind continuously rewires itself based on repeated thoughts, emotions, beliefs, attention patterns, and internal narratives. In other words, most people are not consciously creating their reality. They are unconsciously repeating it. The subconscious mind functions almost like an operating system running beneath ordinary awareness. Repeated thoughts become emotional patterns. Emotional patterns become behaviors. Behaviors become identity. And identity begins shaping the environments, relationships, and opportunities a person continuously experiences. The Hermetic philosophers called this mentalism. The modern world intensifies this process constantly. Algorithms compete for attention. Social media shapes emotional states. Fear-based media conditions perception. Advertising implants desires. And endless stimulation fragments concentration until most people lose awareness of their own internal dialogue completely. The result is psychological automation. People begin absorbing mental scripts that were never consciously chosen. I'm behind. I'm not capable. Life is unfair. Nothing changes. I'll never escape this situation. Over time, these thoughts stop feeling like thoughts. They begin feeling like reality itself. But Hermetic philosophy argues that these internal narratives act like invisible architecture governing perception. This is why mental alchemy becomes important. Mental alchemy is the process of consciously transmuting lower psychological states into higher ones. The alchemists symbolize this as turning lead into gold. But psychologically, the lead was unconscious limitation, while the gold represented sovereign awareness and mastery over one's inner condition. The process begins by identifying subconscious loops. Pay attention to the phrases repeated internally throughout the day. The mind is constantly narrating reality, and whatever is repeated emotionally with enough intensity gradually becomes embedded deeper into the nervous system. Modern neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity. The brain physically restructures itself according to repeated mental and emotional activity. Hermetic philosophy understood this symbolically centuries earlier. As within, so without. The principle of correspondence suggests that the outer world gradually mirrors internal states. This does not mean reality is a simplistic fantasy where thoughts magically manifest instantly. Rather, consciousness subtly shapes perception, behavior, energy, emotional patterns, and decision-making in ways that slowly restructure external outcomes over time. A fearful mind perceives threat everywhere. A fragmented mind creates inconsistent action. A defeated identity unconsciously sabotages opportunity. The internal world becomes reflected externally. And this is why the first stage of mental alchemy is awareness. Most people never observe their own internal language carefully enough to realize how much of their reality is being reinforced unconsciously. The next Hermetic principle becomes crucial here. The principle of vibration. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. Nothing rests. According to Hermetic philosophy, emotional and mental states function like frequencies. Fear, shame, resentment, hopelessness, clarity, discipline, confidence, and purpose all generate different psychological conditions that influence behavior and perception. Your internal state determines what kind of reality you psychologically align yourself with. This is why two people can exist inside the same environment while experiencing life completely differently. One sees opportunity, another sees defeat. One moves toward growth, another remains trapped in paralysis. The external world may be similar, but the internal vibration changes the interpretation and resulting behavior entirely. This is why emotional regulation becomes essential. Mental alchemy is not blind positivity. It is disciplined self-governance. The Hermetic practitioner learns to stabilize internal states rather than becoming controlled by every external fluctuation. This connects directly to another principle, the principle of rhythm. Everything moves in cycles. Progress naturally contains periods of expansion and contraction. Energy rises and falls. Motivation fluctuates. Emotions shift. Most people collapse psychologically whenever momentum temporarily disappears. But Hermetic philosophy teaches that mastery comes from maintaining internal direction even while the pendulum swings. The practitioner stops identifying completely with temporary emotional states. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by every fluctuation, awareness remains stable beneath the movement itself. This creates psychological sovereignty. And sovereignty becomes even more powerful through the principle of polarity. Light and darkness, fear and courage, failure and growth. According to Hermeticism, opposites are not completely separate forces, but different degrees of the same thing. Fear can become discipline. Pain can become transformation. Obstacles can become fuel. The practitioner learns what some Hermetic traditions called mental transmutation, consciously shifting internal interpretation without denying reality itself. This is why resistance often becomes the material necessary for growth. The friction that appears in life frequently reveals exactly where unconscious limitations still exist. And when these limitations become conscious, they can finally be transformed. Modern cognitive restructuring works similarly. Psychologists identify distorted thinking patterns and gradually replace them with healthier interpretations through repetition, awareness, and behavioral reinforcement. The Hermeticists frame this symbolically through alchemy. Different language, similar mechanism. Both recognize that repeated thought reshapes identity, and identity gradually reshapes reality. But mental alchemy ultimately goes deeper than self-improvement. It becomes the transition from unconscious reaction to conscious creation. This is where the principle of cause and effect emerges. Most people live as effects. Their emotional state is determined entirely by circumstances, media, relationships, algorithms, fear, economics, and external events. But the Hermetic practitioner attempts to become a cause instead. Not controlling reality completely, but consciously influencing the internal condition from which action emerges. The person stops waiting for motivation to appear, stops waiting for external validation, stops waiting for reality to become perfect before changing internally, and instead begins consciously constructing the psychological framework they want to inhabit. This requires daily reinforcement. Mental hygiene becomes essential. Protecting attention, reducing overstimulation, monitoring internal language, observing emotional patterns, limiting unconscious input, creating routines aligned with the desired identity, because every repeated action reinforces a version of the self. The subconscious is always listening, always adapting, always restructuring. Eventually, the internal architecture begins changing. And when the internal structure changes deeply enough, external life begins reorganizing around it. Perception sharpens. Confidence stabilizes. Decision-making improves. Self-sabotage weakens. Behavior becomes more coherent. The distance between intention and action collapses. And this is the deeper meaning behind mental alchemy. Not escaping reality, not fantasy manifestation, but restructuring consciousness itself until the mind stops functioning as a prison of unconscious conditioning. The alchemists called this turning lead into gold, because the fragmented psychological self becomes refined into something more integrated, disciplined, aware, and sovereign. The person is no longer being unconsciously programmed by the world around them. They become the architect of their own internal reality. And perhaps this is what the Hermetic masters truly meant when they said, "The universe is mental." Because the quality of consciousness determines the quality of reality a person is capable of perceiving, embodying, and ultimately creating. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.